Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Cytec's first webinar. It's called Onsite. It's a series that we're going to start webinars for Cytec, and all of these webinars are aimed to improving, educating, and providing knowledge to all users of Cytec products. And just so you know, I just would like to also let you know that all our sessions are recorded and will be put on our website after each webinar. And all attendees who have attended will be notified with emails to access these webinars as well.
Thank you, Bryce. Bryce, could you share your camera, please?
Can you see my cam? Can you see me?
No.
I can see you.
Can you see me?
Now we can see you. Perfect. Thanks.
Can you see me now?
I can see you. Thank you.
Okay, you all can see my handsome face. That's good. All right.
Not sure about the handsome, Bryce, but yeah.
Okay. So, guys, what we're going to touch on today on this webinar, we're going to be discussing machine control, creating 3D designs for machine control with the use of an app called File Flipper. And I'm going to touch on a bit of introduction, and my co-host, Chris, he's going to take over from after the introductions, and he's going to cover an overview. He's going to do a bit of a live demo, and then I'm going to take over control back and explain a bit on densification, and we'll have a bit of a Q&A at each section. In all these other sections, we will have a Q&A, and feel free to put your questions into the chat box. We will monitor the chat box, and upon the Q&A sections, we will address those questions as well. And I'd also like to address just some house rules before we get going. Can everybody please just mute your volume and put all your videos to turn off your video and put everything on mute. And yeah, let's get into it. Introductions. For those who don't know me, my name is Bryce Khetsane. I'm a survey engineer by profession. I've joined Cytec in 2018 after leaving Basil Reed. And yeah, that's a little about me. And I haven't been in the field for a long time, but I'm enjoying where I am at the moment. I'm joined as well on this webinar by my co-host, Chris Simon. He joined us last year. He's also in the same shoes as me. He's also an engineering surveyor by profession. And we are both based in Centurion. So if you're around the neighborhood, you can give us a call and let us know if you need to quick consultation or something at the office. Just let us know as well. And without further ado, I'm going to pass everything over to Chris. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Chris will continue with the presentation. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Bryce. Let me just share my screen quickly. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes,
Yes, we can.
Yes. Can you all see me also?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Let's start this session. Okay. Thanks, Bryce, and welcome everyone. Welcome to this live session webinar of File Flipper. Like Bryce said, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or just pop a question in the chat box. Okay. So firstly, let's start off. Okay, so in this session, what we're going to do, we're going to look at some terminology of File Flipper and what it can do. And then I also are going to give a live demonstration of the software itself. You will all realize this is a very easy software and package to use. It's not quite difficult to use. Okay, but before we can go into File Flipper, we first need to know how the thermal machine control handle these files, and before you can start using File Flipper. Okay, so let's just first have a look at what thermal machine control are and what it can do. Okay, so what is thermal machine control? It's basically a 3D or a 2D system that allows you to achieve the required accuracy. Okay, so basically it takes all the guesswork out of earthworks, and what that means is you work smarter and not harder, and you are more efficient in the field. Another plus point of the thermal machine control that we have, you can manage your product as you go on site. So you're on the go, and you don't need to wait for somebody to come and tell you where to work on your machine or where on site you need to work. For that, for our thermal machine control, we can install it on various types of machines. If you need any more info on that, feel free to contact our SciTech representatives. But we do have two types of machine control platforms that we work on, and we're going to discuss that quickly before we get into our File Flipper app. Okay, so basically our first platform that we use is our GCS 900 machine control system. This is our current machine control system. It is a great control system, which allows for faster and smoother work. So it means you don't do any rework or do your work over. You do it once and you have fewer passes that you need to do. As you can see on the screen, it's equipped inside the cab with a 7-inch or a 4.3-inch display unit, which gives the operator the comfort of using his machine control to his advantage. And by that I mean he can sit in the cab and he knows exactly what he needs to do and what is expected of him while he works on the machine. So there's no excuse of not getting the perfect grade. And this machine control of ours is actually built for the construction environment, and it's rugged, can handle the environment in itself. Okay, so the next one is our thermal earthworks system. That's our latest machine control platform. It's basically the same as our GCS system. It's just a newer version. As you can see on the screen, it runs on also on a display unit that's inside the cab. It's either a 10-inch or a 7-inch display unit. And another feature of this, it also is fully touchscreen and can be used seamlessly by the operator. Okay, so basically this is the two systems, and for you to use these two systems, you need to achieve your goal of loading a design onto the systems. And you can't use this system if you don't load a 3D design onto the systems, or you can use a 2D design, but most of the time we use a 3D design. And that is the part that we're going to discuss today. Okay, so I'm not going to discuss how we're going to load this files onto the machine. That's why we're going to have a brief discussion on the file structure and how you can load it onto your machines. What we are going to discuss, we're going to discuss how we get your files to the machine, and so I can show you how easy it is to get it to your machines and what you need to do to be able to load it onto your various platforms, if you're using GCS or if you're using Trimble Earthworks. Okay, so that's basically the two platforms that we use in the construction site. We have various other systems and platforms and products that we do have, but again, feel free to contact any sales representative of SciTech and they will gladly assist you. But for now, we're going to focus on these two systems because File Flipper is mainly used for either GCS or Trimble Earthworks. Okay, so let's get into the File Flipper side of things. Basically, to get your design into a machine control system, you either need a CAD software. We've got the Trimble Business Center software, It's a survey and a CAD package, or you can use File Flipper. So we're going to discuss File Flipper today, and we will do TBC on a later stage. Okay, so let's dive into it. What is File Flipper used for? Okay. File Flipper is exactly what it says. It flips your files. There's no need to go into Trimble Business Center, open it up, and convert your files. However, you can do it, but to convert your files to the relevant extensions, file extensions that you need, you can use File Flipper for that. And if you have a 3D design, let's say from a third-party software like Model Maker that you use, you can just export that file from that software package that you use to File Flipper. Let's say it's an XML file, you export it as an XML file and you load it then into File Flipper, and that software app will convert it for you into the relevant file extensions and put it in the correct file structure. And another thing of File Flipper that you also can use, you can use it to send files between your two systems. So let's say you have a earthwork system on your dozer, on your grader, and you have a GCS system on your grader, and you have a earthwork system on your dozer or excavator. You can, however, send files from the one system to another system by converting it through File Flipper. Now, why do I say this? Because File Flipper can be installed on a Trimble Earthworks tablet that's in the cab, so you can do it from your tablet. So you don't need to open your PC or your laptop. You can just, inside your cab, convert your file and send it to another system platform or the same Earthworks platform. Okay. Where will I use this? So if I want to use this now in practical, as an example, let's say you're a small contractor or you're busy on a rural area or on a farm for somebody, and you has a dozer busy cleaning a topsoil for a piece of road, and you don't have a design for that, and you need to create a design for that as quick as possible in field. So you can use your Earthworks platform to do an in-field design. So as you clean your topsoil off, you pick up points and you quickly create a surface from inside your cab. When you finish with that, you can just export it through File Flipper and, let's say, load it onto your grader or excavator equipped with GCS, and they can start digging and building the road or whatever platform you need to do. So this is where the advantages of File Flipper comes in. You don't need to go to the office to do that. Okay. All right. And then on the next point, why use File Flipper? I really already discussed one of the topics, but we do realize that there's a need for people that use Trimble Machine Control to have a quicker, more efficient way of converting their files to load it onto the various platforms. Basically, it's not a new app. Trimble Business Center, not Trimble Business Center, Trimble File Flipper is not a new app. It's been on the market for quite some time, for a couple of years. Some of you might have seen it, and some seen this for the first time. But where can I use it and why do I use it? I can use it for, if I don't have Trimble Business Center, the availability. If I'm on the go, like I just explained, if you don't have a laptop or a PC with you and you don't have TBC with you. And if I can just mention, it is a free app, so you can get it for free. There's no need to buy it. And that's a plus point. So you don't need to spend money to buy Trimble Business Center, but I do advise you to buy it because it helps you in the long term. And there's less downtime. Okay, so before we carry on, there's just a few things to note that I can make clear for you. File Flipper is not a replacement for TBC. Okay, so it's just here to help you as a contractor or surveyor or foreman to convert your designs like your single roads, your surfaces, platforms. It's just there to help you to convert those designs into a suitable design file extension that you can use onto either Earthworks or GCS. However, you can use it for larger complex surfaces like dual carriageway, roads, and etc. But when you use large dual carriageway and complex surfaces, I do advise you to use Trimble Business Center to inspect your model, and Bryce will talk about that a little bit later on. So, but it can convert any model for you. So, like I said, it's not a replacement. It's a tool that helps you to convert files to the correct file format, and it creates a necessary file for the structure. So it will take all your files that you bring in from Trimble, from whichever software you use, and it will bring it into File Flipper, and it will convert it for you, and it will put it into the right structure for you, so you can just export it to the machine. And lastly, we all know you need a local calibration file or a global calibration file or global coordinate system with that to be able to load it onto your machine, mainly because you need to know where you are on site. So if you have a local coordinate system on site, you need to do a calibration first, or if you don't have a calibration file, you can, however, just use the global coordinate system and then also convert it to a calibration file from within File Flipper. All right, so basically that's the overview of File Flipper. So where can I install File Flipper on? Basically, you can install File Flipper on any tablet that runs on Android 5 and above, that has the Android software on, operating system on, and you can also run it on any smartphone or any cell phone device that has Android 5 or later. And then on Microsoft Windows operating system, you can install it from Windows 10 upwards. Okay. To download it, you can download it from the Google Play Store or go to Trimble website and download it there for a PC or a laptop on the Windows operating system, or you can contact one of our SciTech representatives and we will gladly provide it for you. Okay, so quickly move on to the files and what files do our machine control need to be able to load your designs onto our machines, onto the Trimble machines to be able to work with it. The first one is our GCS 900 grade control system. So basically it needs two files. It needs an SVD and an SVL. So some of you might already have seen these files and are accustomed to these two types of files. For those of you who don't know these files, the SVD file is basically just a design file. What I mean by that, it is a file that you load all your surfaces on, and you can also load with your triangles and your tin models and all your design files you will load onto there. And if you have a road surface, you can load it on your SVD file. SVL file contains your CAD or your alignment. That's self-explainable. It's a DXF or alignment that will be converted to a SVL file. Okay, so that is for the GCS 900 system. For our Earthworks system, there also are two, but you're not going to create two of those at the same time. You will either have a VCL file or a DSZ file. What is a DSZ file? It is a design. It's also like a SVD and an SVL file, but it's a combination of the two. So a DSZ has a design, there's data in it, which is your alignment, your CAD, your pen model or your surface model, and it contains all that files in one. So it doesn't contain your project data files like a CSV or your point files that you load separately. Whereas a VCL, if for the people who doesn't know what a VCL is, it's a file where you take all of these and you combine it into one. What we do is then you can load multiple surfaces multiple horizontal alignments, multiple vertical alignments, and if you have multiple layer surfaces that you want to load as one file, you can just export it as a VCL file. We also use our VCL files in Thermal SiteWorks and Thermal Business Center, because it's easier to work with one file and have multiple designs on that one file, so you don't need to export each design separately. So basically, this is the platform or the file extensions that we need for our machine control system. Okay, so now what files do you need to bring into File Flipper to be able to use it for your machines? So like already explained, a VCL file. You can take a VCL file and convert it to a VCL file. It will just take that VCL file and just put it in the correct file structure. You can, however, take a land XML. You all are accustomed to land XML files. You export it either from software you use or from RoadMaker or the Model Maker, and you export it as a land XML, and then you import it into File Flipper, which will in turn create either a SVD or a DSZ file. Your lines will be converted to either a SVL or a DSZ file. This is a combination of the two, and this is separate. And then your alignment will be either for the GCS, SVL, or DSZ for your thermal earthworks. Okay, and a DXF it will take that DXF and either also convert it to a SVL or a DSZ file. So this is the files that you can load from your software or from Thermal Business Center or from any third-party software that you use. You can import that and convert it through File Flipper. And then lastly, the calibration and a GUID file. So a calibration file, like I already explained, you need it for orientation on site and to be able to work on your local coordinate system that you create on site or on the global coordinate system. That's why you need a site calibration. Where do you get it from? You either get it from our site controllers, Thermal SiteWorks, or SCS 900. That's your GPS on site or your rover. And then lastly, what do you do when you don't have a site calibration? You can create one in TVC by creating OpenTVC, and you can create one there. We manually create a site calibration. Or if you're working on the global coordinate system, the WGS 1984, you can, however, go to File Flipper and it will create for you a cal file. So just to tell you a little bit about these four, the one is for our site controllers, either for SiteWorks or SCS 900. Rovers on site, a cal file is for our machine control. The CFX is for the more previous versions of GCS 900, I think it's 12.4 and earlier, and then the JXL is for, it comes from Trimble Access. Okay, so that's the four calibration files that you will encounter. And then a GUID model, it will just take that GGF file that a GUID model has and put it into the correct file structure. Okay, so I talked about the file structure just now and I name it, so let's just have a look at the correct file structure and what each system needs. So the GCS 900 system has a unique file structure. So you need to have your files in that file structure to be able to send it to the machine so that that machine can read your design. Otherwise it will tell you it doesn't pick up your design. So what is that file structure? So firstly, you're going to have a root directory. Okay, so that is either your USB device or your C drive, which in turn will create a machine control data folder. And in that folder will be your all folder or your machine name. And by machine name, it will either be your grader name or grader 1 or grader 2. It won't have your project name. It will have your grader or your machine name. And then within that machine name, there is your design, either your SVD, SVL, and your site calibration. If you load a design through File Flipper and you realize there's no SVL file, it's because you don't have any design CAD or any alignments loaded. So then it only creates a design file for you. And then lastly, a site calibration will also be created for you. Okay, so that is the system, that's the root folder structure that we use on GCS 900. Okay, and on the GCS 900, it will also create a geodata folder where your geoid will be located in. Okay, so this is the GCS 900 folder structure, and this is how it needs to be. If it's not like this, your machine won't be able to read it. Okay, let's move over to the Earthworks platform and look at its folder structure for the machines. Firstly, you've got your root directory, it's the same as a USB device or a C drive. If you want to store it first on your C drive before you send it to your machine, either through the cloud or by USB device. The first folder what you will see is your project library folder. Secondly, is your geodata folder that contains your geoid. And under your project library folder, you will also have your project. So within that project folder, it will either be your project name. Now, unlike GCS 900, you create a project name, not a machine name. So you will have a project name and you can have various projects under the project. So in this case, let's say it's SiteTech Site 1. And under there, I will have my Office data folder with all my site calibration, control, and site data. And also, then it will create for you a design VCL or a DSZ design file that you can send to the machines. And this is the folder structure for Earthworks. And again, if it's not like this, your machine won't be able to read it and it won't pick up your design. Or you will have a hard time getting your designs loaded. But this is why I'm showing you this, is because Trimble File Flipper creates this for you. You don't need to go and create all this folders. File Flipper will do it automatically for you. So this is basically what File Flipper is, and this is the terminology of File Flipper. So let's just go over to the questions. If there's any questions on this theoretical presentation, please feel free to ask me or type it in the chat box.
Thanks, Chris. I think if you can show us File Flipper, it will be more clear for everybody. But yeah, I don't think there's any questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, let's move on. I think also if we can have a live demonstration of File Flipper, then you all see what I mean by all the file extensions and all the different file types and where you're coming from and where we are going to. So yeah, let's go into the live demonstration for File Flipper. Okay, so after you downloaded File Flipper from either from the website, Trimble website, or from the Google Play Store or the APK if you have one, then you just open it either. I'm going to open it on my laptop or my PC. And I'm going to the taskbar and I'm going to open the software. Okay, so like I said, this is a very basic program. It's very easy to use. We're just going to run through it quickly and I'm going to show you how it works. Okay, so this is the first screen that you will see. On the left side, there is a short menu. It's quite self-explainable. If you press on it, it will take you to your home page, setting page, or your help file. If I click on the home page, this is the home page. Next one is my settings. And under the settings, You will have your language. You can change your language. You can read the terms and conditions, and it tells you all about File Flipper if you need some information, and then you can select your coordinate system here. All of this we can, however, the language and the coordinate system, we can, however, select it while we're loading the designs. And then if you need a help file, it's also a nice tool where it explains to you everything that you need to know about File Flipper and what it can and what it cannot do. And if you want to go back in File Flipper, just press the back button or press the home tab. Okay. So first of all, the first step, and this is just following the steps. So first of all, we're going to click on the Browse button, and it will open the File Explorer for us. So then you just locate your file where it is. Mine is already here, and I'm just going to select my DXF for my CAD and my XML for my route. So just to show you quickly where this comes from, this is the file that I want to load. This is the route file. It's a short route that I created years ago when I was using RouteMaker, and I exported it as a land XML from there. So I just import into TBC quickly to show you what we are going to convert. So basically, this is just the surface and then the cross section and the surface after long section view of that file. So we're going to take this file and convert it to the relevant file extension to be loaded onto our machines. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to select it. You can select multiple files, and I'm going to say open. So now it's going to ask you what files do you want to add to your machines. You can now either add more files here, or you can remove a file if you made a mistake. I'm going to load both of them. I'm going to check the checkbox, and I'm going to say continue, and it's going to import the file for me. Next step, is it meters? I'm going to leave it on meters. It's just the units. Now it's going to ask you, because it's a horizontal alignment included into the surface, because it's a road surface, it's going to ask you, do you want to load only the surface or the road and the alignment? So let's start off with the surface only. So I'm going to load the surface only. I don't need the alignment, so I'm going to load the surface only, and that's my surface name, and I'm going to say continue. So it's going to ask me again, what do I want to do? Do I want to include a line work, background line work? I've got the DXF file, so I'm going to say yes, and it will ask me what system I want to use. What platform do I need to export my files to? So let's start off with GCS 900. Will you be using GPS? Yes, I've got the GPS on my machine. And if you don't have a GPS on machine, you can, however, just select no. So I can go back one step. You can select no. That is more for your UTS, for your machines that work with robotic total stations, where you don't need a site calibration, where the site calibration is already on your site controller or your rover. I'm going to say yes, and I don't have a local site calibration. If you have a DC file or a CAL file, you can locate it from here. I'm just going to select the global coordinate system. Here's a list of all the systems in the world, coordinate systems that is available in the world. We're going to use the South African one, but if you anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, you can use a different coordinate system. In this country, it's a South African WGS 984, RTPS Hook 94, or Clark Datum. If you're still using that for whatever reason, you can select one of the two, say continue, and it will ask you for your zone. This project was in the WG27 zone. Say okay, and I will use a GWOID. Okay, so you don't have to have a GWOID file. It is already in the system. You can just go and look for it. You can say all region, and you can have a look for your GWOID file. Again, if you're not in South Africa, You can, however, locate a GUID for the rest of the world in here. Most of them are listed here. Okay, so I'm going to use the South African GUID. And I'm going to say continue. At the end, it's just a quick review and a quick summary of what you try to load and what you try to send to the machine. And if you're happy with all of these files, like what file you load, what is your CAD file that you load, or your XML file that you load, and it's a summary of what your coordinate system is, and also what GUID you load. And if you're happy with this, you just press save, and then it will ask you where you want to write it to. I'm going to write it to my USB device because I want to send it to the machine. I'm going to go to the machine and import it there. So I'm going to select my USB device, select folder, and just going to save it. And it tells you the design was successfully converted and exported to use with GCS 900. So you're done. So this is done for GCS. Let's use the Earthworks one quickly. Again, it takes you straight back to the main page. I'm going to browse. I'm going to select my two folders again. And I'm going to select both files. And I'm going to say continue. So just remember, we do it now for Trimble Earthworks. That's the other machine control platform. And again, meters. And now I want to do a road with the alignment. So I don't want the surface only. I want the road with the alignment. So I want the road and my alignment included. So I'm selecting road. It's going to ask me for my surface. That is my road surface. And then it's going to ask me for my alignment. So if you have a alignment, 99% of roads do have alignment. Then you select your alignment and you say continue. And again, it will ask you for any background detail like the XF file that you want to load. And I'm going to say yes, because we have selected one. Okay, so now I'm going to select my Earthworks machine control system, and they're going to ask me, is this a new project? And if you have an existing project running, you can just say no, and you select that folder, that site name, and it will create just a project within that, a file structure within that folder for you for that specific site. Otherwise, just say yes, and I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it SiteTech Site 1. SiteTech Site 1. Accept it, and also want to send it to my machine through USB. I'm going to select my USB device, say select the folder. Is it a GPS? Yes, it is. And I don't have a coordinate system, so I select my South African coordinate system. Again, it's out of Hoek, and it's in the same zone. I want to use a GUID. I'm going to select my GUID again. Say continue. I don't have point files and control point files, but you can, however, load point files and control files for whatever reason to the machine control. I don't have any point files, so I'm going to say no. And again, it gives you a quick review and a quick summary of what you're trying to convert. And I'm going to say save. Okay, so after it's saved, it tells you it successfully converted it and it's done. So now you're done. Now we finished with converting two systems in a matter of minutes. Whereas when you go to TBC, and it takes a while longer, but you have the ability to inspect your model more thoroughly. In File Flipper, you must inspect it before you do it. But this is for on the go, like I said. Let's just have a look quickly on where these files are located and how they look, and to see if it did write to the file structure that I explained to you. So if I go to my USB device, you will see there's a machine control data folder, and under my machine data folder, machine control data folder, you will either have a all file or your machine name. Okay, so this one is an all file because we don't have a machine currently on the system. So it's an all file, and in that all file you will have your GUID folder and your SiteTech route network. That's my machine that I created, and my design file that I have. And in that design file is my various types of files. Okay, so for the project library folder, that is my Trimble Airfox folder structure. It's my GWAIT, and under my GWAIT you will see they automatically write the files for you to the correct file folder structure. So basically it did that in a matter of minutes, and yeah, so this is the live demonstration for File Flipper, and that's how easy it is to convert your files to the correct file extensions for use in GCS 900 or Trimble Airflows. And by that I conclude my presentation for File Flipper, and if there's any questions, again, feel free to ask or post your questions in the chat box. I don't know, Bryce, if there's any questions currently.
Chris, currently at the moment there are no questions. I just saw on my WhatsApp there is a question that was asked. Can you do all of that you just did on your smart device with those adapters for your phone?
Okay, so that adapter, if you can go back to that picture, that adapter there, okay.
Yes.
So the adapter there is just for GCS 900, because you can, however, use it for Thermal Airfox. You can use your smartphone, but because GCS is written to a USB device most of the times, it will ask you for adapted on when you use a smartphone. So, but for Thermal Airfox, you don't need that adapter. It's basically just the USB adapter from your smartphone. So you can, however, just get the adapter from any store and it will work. Then you can export from the GCS system, for the GCS system from your smartphone. But the Thermal Airfox system platform will allow you to send your files to the relevant file structure.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Currently in the chat at the moment, I don't see many questions. I'm not sure. You can raise your hand with the options on Teams, and just there's a raise hand button under reactions if you want to unmute and post your question to Chris. Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Chris.
Okay,
that
so
was
let
very
me just... Oh, sorry, you're saying?
No, I was saying thank you very much. That was very informative. If you'd like to add, you can add. You were saying something you wanted to add.
No, I want to say thank you for everybody that attended. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for you, guys.
Yeah. Second part. All right, I'm sure you've all heard of this. For all those guys using our machine control systems on road jobs, you've all heard of the term road densification in TBC. Unfortunately, this function unfortunately requires a licensed version of TBC, namely Surface Modeling Edition. That's where you have the functionality to use this function. So, road densification. Densification is an app within TBC that allows one to add additional cross sections when your road comes into curves, arcs. It just adds additional cross sections for you within those arcs. So in most packages along your straight lines, it will not add, especially if you've defined your road in segments of 20 meters or 10 meters. It all depends how you define it, but whenever your road comes across arcs, it'll add additional cross sections for you and additional sections for you. Okay, what is densification? As I've mentioned as well, densification is just making your model more dense, or as they say, making a finer mesh. adding more cross sections, defining your model along the edges, that your machine blade can follow that curve properly in the terms of curves. Unfortunately, densification is bound to alignment-based surfaces. So if you're, for example, if you want to use for drain, if your drain has got an alignment, if you want to do a design for an excavator, so any surface that has an alignment linked to it can be densified. The densification application can be used within TBC. In terms of surfaces that don't have alignments, unfortunately, you have to do that process manually with the aid of strings, changing segment lengths, adding more nodes, and adding more triangles in that way as well. That's the only option you have, unfortunately, if you want to do it manually. The best way to do it is with the aid of strings and just changing the segment lengths to add more triangles. So as you can see in TBC, there's a nice command called surface slicer. It's a command that you can create cross sections on the fly within any three-dimensional model, and you can see it in real time what the model is doing on a slicer view. So in terms of results that we did in TBC, there's an example of a surface before it's densified. In this case, I presume the way the road was done is maybe every 5 meters. And along each section, after you densify your road, only the sections where your road is a curve where additional cross sections are required or triangles. So at the end of the day, this application assists your machine to get a true representation of your three-dimensional model. And unlike certain sections where your blade will go over a section, it will not say off grade, unless if you do it properly but with the aid of densification. So normally within TBC, for example, you would drop and drag. Let's say you've done a model from Roadmaker as an example. You drop and drag it, and immediately on your screen you'll click on your three-dimensional surface, and then you either right-click and go to the Properties pane, or just click F5, F10, or F11 for a shortcut. After you've selected your surface, you go to the Properties pane. You just make sure there that your road is alignment-based. Must say yes. So it must be alignment-based. And then you just slide down the middle, you just slide down the slider, and then you work your way down to the densification section. Once you get to the densification section, it'll ask you densify yes or no. And if you're using a free version of TBC, that section will be grayed out. And that is in a nutshell what the densification application does for you within TBC. So at the end of the day, it does help you, give you a proper three-dimensional model that your machine can follow, especially around supers on a job site. And in terms of your field controllers, you don't need to do densification because it already takes it into account for all your field devices. And does anyone have a question on that, on densification? Gone. Yeah, so please also feel free to notify us as well if you'd like to request a demo in terms of TBC, in terms of this application as well. Either contact me or either contact Chris or his counterpart Ellis. They're very good at this as well. They can actually help you, and they show you how densification works, and they can help you with maybe setting up a demo if you'd like to know more. Okay.
Thanks, Bryce.
Okay. In terms of for all our latest products, technology, industry, and company news, you could follow us on our social media pages. You can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. whichever one you prefer, we are listed on those if you'd like to follow us to see what's new and greatest under SciTech as well. Okay. And I'd like to extend a thank you to all participants who took the time off to join us for this webinar. And I'd like to also, when you receive an email with regards to being part of this webinar, can you please pass us as well your suggestions and future topics that you'd like us to maybe cover that will aid you become a more proficient user of all SciTech products that we offer you in the field. We've got a vast number of topics. It'll also just steer us in the right direction to push the topics at hand that are mostly giving you trouble and tripping you up at most of the time. And yeah, thanks everyone for attending again. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.